periods. Let's talk about it, okay?
And so that's what virgin actually means.
It's just gotta stick together.
What do I always say?
Listen to your pussy.
She never lies.
Sister Strain here.
Your favorite feisty feminist filmmaking duo.
You're listening to The Sister Strain. Okay, we are live.
Hello.
Hello.
We have a beautiful guest today.
Our first guest.
Our first guest.
am I the first
Sister
guest?
Strain's first guest.
Our most sacred and cherished lady love.
Oh,
Yes.
What an honor.
This is our very good friend, Meg.
Hello.
Did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi. Yes, I'm Meg. I'm from Toronto. I've known these beautiful women for, what are we going on now?
Oh my
I
God.
don't even know. Over a decade.
Over a decade, maybe 15.
Well over.
Yeah.
Maybe we just say over a decade and we don't get into specifics.
Over a decade. Over a decade.
Before we go anywhere with our conversation, let's just point out we're all wearing these beautiful
voluptuous
earrings.
vulva earrings.
Meg handcrafts vulva earrings, pins, magnets. She's also doing expanding into further artwork. It's all stunning. We love it. We wear them all the time.
Every woman needs a pair.
Yeah.
I want to see vulvas dangling from the ears of every female on the planet.
Every human, any
any
gender,
you don't have-
anyone with an ear piercing, and if you don't have your ears pierced,
Wear a
then
pin.
get a pin. Absolutely.
yeah.
Let's spread
And
the vulva
they're all
love.
different. There's a little something for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could find it on our socials, and yeah, she's gonna go international. I just know
We're
it.
going-
Absolutely,
going
she's
live.
going global.
So anyway, we are here today to have our conversation. You may have noticed we all have matching hats.
Yes.
Meg also got us
Handcrafted
these. And the title of the episode is on the hat. I don't know if it's close enough you can see it. But today's topic is daddy issues.
Daddy issues. Okay, so they say every girl group has to have, or usually has, a WhatsApp group conversation with an unhinged title. That is our group. Our WhatsApp group chat title
Now,
is Daddy Issues.
Our personal reasoning for it is not what you might think the reasoning is. We all happen to work with our fathers. Mag works with her father. She's actually working on taking over the company that he started. Yeah, he started it. Yeah. Which is, do you want to say what the company?
Oh, it's a printing and design company.
Yeah.
Real hot industry right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And then we sell real estate with our father.
Yeah.
So this group chat was started like 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
We took a trip to Toronto and just got, a little blitzed on several bottles of wine, having a good old fashioned bitch session about different ways our fathers irritated us or dropped the ball in our business dealings.
Yeah. Well, we were also talking about the nuances of so you're working with your father, and then your mother isn't in the business, but she's also very involved because it's the family talks about business. And then you're you want to complain about your boss, and who do you want to complain about your boss to? Sometimes you go to your mother and you complain about how frustrated you are with your boss, who in this case also happens to be your father. And then there's a little bit of because
But of
they're
course your mom has your back.
yeah, because they're they kind of side with you or support you, but then they go tell your father.
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
you're also this is in confidence. I just want to bitch,
it's always-
right?
it's always
But then
hey, Mom.
they always think oh, I can help under the radar.
I'm gonna fix
I'll
this.
say something, and then our dads are you went to your mother?
You went to your mother?
That was the conversation that was happening when
That's
we
when you
arrived,
showed
right?
up.
You had
I was on the phone and I was just get in the house. I got a situation.
your dad
And
called.
I'm
You're
calling my
"Okay."
dad, and then I'm calling my mom to be why did you say something?
I think your
He's
dad was
"Why are you talking
this
to
is
your
so
mother?"
disrespectful.
Yeah, how dare you go behind my back and tell your mom on me? So there's so many little layers of nuance of working
And we
with your
realized
father.
we need a group conversation where we can just we can't trust our moms anymore.
Yes,
We got to
instead
put
of
in the
going-
group combo.
Instead of going to mom, you go to the girlfriends and you bitch
go to the
about your
girlfriends.
boss there.
And you get it. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
take a deep breath.
Just
Let it out.
go rage in the basement,
Go
and
rage.
go back to work.
That being said, we all love our fathers. We
Yes.
adore them. They're wonderful
Yes.
humans who also, we realize they built businesses that we were able to also bring our skills to the table and join in. But they did, build that opportunity
Yeah,
for
we're
us.
very
So
lucky
we're
for
very
that
thankful for
opportunity.
that. Just sometimes you got to bitch about them,
You gotta bitch.
Everyone
Everyone.
needs to bitch about their boss sometimes.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's our like personal daddy issues moment and why we wanted to speak on that. But also we were like, let's dig a little bit. Let's dig into
Where
the
does
term.
this term come from, and
Yeah.
why is it?
And what is our
irritating?
modern
Yeah, what's the background?
our
What's the
modern
backstory?
day believings behind it, I guess. So I guess I'll just jump in kind of like
Yeah,
where
go
it
ahead.
came from or where it starts. Of like it goes back to both Freud and Jung, and their references as either the Oedipus complex and father complex, which, if anyone's familiar with the story of Oedipus, it's a child, a son and mother like intimacy relationship, which they say in a lot of studies is like. Many children have like a
Your first experience with intimacy is with your mother,
Yes.
through breastfeeding, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
and often through the stages of growing up, it's like there is a feeling with like the parent of the opposite sex. It is something like a bond that you form, and that's something that you take in your whole life in your relation to partnerships as you age, of how you relate to the opposite sex.
you kind
the
of
same
search
sex.
for situations that mimic your early experiences.
Yeah.
With the
Now,
opposite gender.
the reason we want to talk about this so passionately today is because when you think of daddy issues today, like when you hear daddy issues, when are we hearing it? We're hearing it in very negative terms towards females.
It's an insult.
yeah.
She has daddy issues.
And it's usually in cases that are either like slut shaming or indicating women who are quote unquote needy in relationships, and they want validation, they want more time spent, they want more intimacy.
Needy for having needs and expressing those needs, essentially.
And so we've taken this thing that was actually originally kind of more about fathers and more about the male's relation to their parents, and we've changed it to become something that's like the onus on the women. So it's taken from like the child's parent relationship, and now we've turned it into something that's very like negative towards the female,
And this is
which our society loves
Yeah,
to do.
this is a common thing of taking certain sociological or familial issues and concerns and putting the onus on the woman in the experience, right?
Yeah.
So daddy issues, if you're suggesting she has some issues because she had an absent father. Okay, so the real issue here is an absentee
absent
father,
father.
not a girl having daddy
you
issues.
You see it with like teen pregnancy, or you see it with single mothers as well, where it's like instead of, the problem here is like an absent male or not taking responsibility, and the woman has to kind of like put it all on her shoulders and carry the weight of it, and then our society shames that woman for being the responsible one who showed up and carried on.
It's a derogatory sort of expression. The idea of a single mother, particularly, is so frustrating.
It's funny because you don't hear it with men who have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
You don't hear anyone saying, "Oh,
He has daddy issues
He has
or
daddy
mommy
issues."
issues.
We don't.
Like,
I've
he-
never uttered
yeah.
that in
No,
talks of
it
a male.
It doesn't come out of the mouth.
I've never heard anyone.
Never
say it.
heard anyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
But,
funny.
but isn't that just like, when they talk about like fathers and mothers, and it's like the stuff the mother does all the time with the kids, and then like the father takes the kid to the park, and they're like,
I'm like, give him
oh,
a round
you're
of
such a great
applause."
father. What a great the
What a
kids to
great
hang out
husband
with.
you have.
It's like, what? He gets praised for doing the thing that the woman just naturally has to does all the time. Like, and I also like when we talk in our studies right now and the work we're doing with our documentary, asking kind of women and like women who are specifically in heterosexual relationships, like what the divide of kind of the household emotional and like typically female kind of housework labor, what the divide is between their partnerships. And there's been a mixed bag. A lot are like, well, clearly it's, no, clearly
There's only
it's
one
more
answer here.
skewed towards me. Like I do most of the work. And then other people are like, oh no, I'm really lucky. I have a great husband. We have a pretty even household. And I'm like, but that's where the issue still lies. Well, it's lucky.
Why is that lucky?
Why is it lucky?
Yeah.
That
Why-
should be standard.
It should just be normal.
It should
that
be
that's
expected.
a thing, but it's not. It's a lucky thing. And I'm like, well, that's where we still have work to do. Every woman should be lucky for the partnership. Like that should just be a given. But it's like the use of language and how
It really stems back to how we're referring to these certain situations, right? You even think about the expression violence against women.
Yeah.
Well, who's most
Perpetrating
typically the
the
perpetrator
violence,
is the male, so it should be male violence against women, but we totally take them out of the equation. The onus is just on the woman who's experiencing this
the media
mistreatment.
words things, and it's all across the board. It's not just with topics of female. It's that you see like, what's happening in Gaza, or what's happening in Sudan, and the way that they word things is usually, or even like the Pellico case of the sexual assault that happened there. I can't remember her first name, but that also, it's like the way that they word it. It's like woman was, raped or assaulted, by. It's like they express it. They express like what happened to the woman, but not like man assaults a wife for years.
It should be like
it's
husband assaults wife for decades,
assaulted.
right?
Like,
and instead, it's like
woman
is assaulted.
Is. Yeah. But you see that with like the different wars or something. It's like instead of being like, this country is attacking this country, it's not. It's like, this country was attacked. It's like, by who? Who attacked them? Where's the rest of the news?
Why aren't we putting them in the hot seat? Yeah, even, like I've heard for sexual assault cases and things like that is like we don't name the perpetrator, but the victim's name is often used in press and media coverage, right? It's like we're like, well, we don't. They're not guilty yet. They haven't been proven guilty. We don't want to upset their life.
We don't want
or
to affect their work
affect their
or
families
their job or their family relationships or embarrass them. It's like, but we have no problem embarrassing victims.
Yeah, and they made the choices that they did, so they sort of like you deserve the consequences of that.
Yeah. But anyway, when it comes back to like the actual daddy issues and how that it has become a female thing, and it's because in the studies that I was reading, it was talking about how I think between the ages of like 10 and 13, I could be a little off on the age range there, but in that pocket, it's so important for young girls and their bond that they create with their father, because that's their first experience with someone of the opposite sex, and oftentimes the relationship that they form, like the bonds they form, they go on to dictate what kind of partnership they look for in a husband or a partner, because it's a validating that they say that fathers during that time should be very affirming and validating to their daughter, and that's how their daughter kind of builds their own self-worth and self-confidence that they carry on in the future. And so often when And it's also like it's a product of our society too, that we shame any femininity in men, which
expression,
one of
right? So it's
empathy,
usually
expression,
words of affirmation
emotions.
that children are seeking at that time to build their sense of self-esteem and worth, right? They need their parents to be verbally expressing,
Love
their good
and
qualities,
appreciation.
and appreciation, and that sort of affection.
But in our society, we like shame those things in men. It's seen as feminine. It's seen as weak. To be like emotional. To be
you're supposed to
or,
stuff
like,
it down.
It's
and
like ick. It's ick to like express appreciation and love for people. And it's like, but it's so important then, because it's like if you don't feel that then you kind of. Oftentimes what happens with these women who have daddy issues, as we like to call them, it's that they don't have that first example of having a really healthy bond with the male, and they're looking to kind of recreate or like fix the issues that they had
they get
with
a
their father.
do-over and be like, I can fix it with somebody else.
So
and this isn't actually only a female thing, right? Because boys at that age are developing daddy issues also, because they also need their father to be more expressive and give them those experiences of verbal affirmation and affection.
Example of how to be the father themselves. So that's like their father didn't give them that validation, and they're going on, and then they're also becoming a father. We're
reiterating the cycles of not expressing, not emoting, and stuffing it down, and then forming children that have these issues with healthy relating because they haven't had the experiences to know, okay, this is what I should be looking for. This is how I should feel in partnership. Expression and emoting should be like a basic requirement.
But it does seem to be such like, and for lack of a better word, just such like an ick thing. Like I feel like
it's too sensitive.
Yeah, like my partner, I feel like struggles with that of like, like
he's
the expressions of love or affection or like
him feel
compliments. He like shies away from
like
it.
outward verbal expressions of like, I love you. I think you're wonderful.
Not shown that.
I don't know.
Kid, right?
I haven't dug too far
we'll
in there.
It's not
like
let's dig in. Meg, tell us a little bit about your father relationship growing up.
I feel very lucky because I had a very soft dad. He
wasn't afraid of the feminine.
He wasn't afraid. But it was funny because I had as a child, a better relationship with my father.
Yeah.
And my mom and I kind of butt heads. And I think we just didn't understand each other until we're adults. I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
She's always been an adult.
In your lifetime, yes.
Yes.
She wasn't born an adult.
She wasn't born an adult. But I think some time and space, we understand each other. We have like a great relationship now. But growing up as kids, we just didn't see eye to eye. But my dad was always very soft and caring, and he was a softer parent, I think. And he was always big about talking, if there was a fight, we talk about it after, and we resolve it. And
you know what, it might be with your mom too, because also when I was reading, they were talking about how there is a moment of like when you're first born, when you're really, really young, it's like both the parents kind of dote on the child, and the child like, oh, I'm in this loving environment. But as they grow, they see that like the parents also have a bond that like they're outside of them, and they feel a kind of like jealousy, usually towards the same sex parent as them. So maybe
so if you're a girl, you'd be jealous of your mom having a relationship with your father outside of your experience,
because you had such a good bond. Because you had such a good and loving like soft bond with him, you might have felt this like weird like jealousy towards your mother, that like she's like moving in on your bond.
Well, and your draw towards wanting to be closer with your father would then be because you're trying to be like, our bond is stronger. Forget about her. Our bond.
It's like the weird little ways are like manipulative, or like we don't even realize it, right?
It's like subconscious.
It's a subconscious thing, yeah. But no, and today we're still very close. Like nothing's really. He's definitely very soft and caring, and he had this rule because he worked a lot, and we lived in the country, and he was drove to Toronto. Business. Yeah, he was driving to Toronto every day, so it was like an hour drive from where we lived.
Yeah,
but he had a rule where he was like, I will stand at the end of the driveway to say goodbye to them when they hop on the school bus. And he had this rule of like, you don't get on the school bus without a kiss goodbye. And at like 15, you're like, don't touch me.
We don't need to be seen together, Dad.
And then one day I was like, no. And I got on the school bus, and he's like, I'll embarrass you if you don't do it. And all of a sudden the whole school bus is looking at my dad, and he's taking his shirt off, and he's swinging it in the air. And he's like, you'll never leave the house without a kiss again.
Your dad's a riot.
He's something else.
He also really seems to enjoy our friendship.
He does. He's jealous. He's jealous.
He's our biggest supporter.
He's jealous of me. Okay.
Yeah.
He's
jealous of the relating he sees us doing.
He's just like, you girls.
You crazy girls.
You crazy girls.
I definitely, when we were digging into the studies though, I'm like, I could relate a lot to what I was reading. I'm like, I love my father, wonderful human, very like, kind-hearted human. But he learned from his father, again, the traditional like masculine roles, a very like Irish, Scottish, patriarchal, kind of family.
You provide, and that's your role.
And like, father. So there wasn't, again, he was working hard too, and like there wasn't the intimate conversations. There wasn't a lot of like, hand holding, or like I remember times when I was young and we would like be going into a shopping center and I would see his hand and I'd like rush. I always wanted to be daddy's little girl. So this is like, I was very conscious growing up of like, no, I didn't want to be girly girl. Like I wanted the men in my life to like me. Like I consciously always had that feeling of like, I remember
because we're all bred to despise the feminine in ourselves and each other.
It was like I didn't want to wear pink. I didn't want to be associated with that. I wanted my brother and my father to like think I was cool and be like, to think I was like more like them. Like that was, I don't know where that came from, but it was.
That's what I said. We're all raised to have like certain misogynist beliefs of like being a little bit put off by feminine expression.
Yeah. And so I would like see his hand and I would like run up and like slip my hand into his. And like the odd time he would let it linger for like a couple seconds and then he would like just kind of like graze it off. Or like sometimes he would deny it and I'd be like, oh God. And I think then in his position, I feel like he's like, oh no, in public it's weird for a grown man to be holding the hand of a little girl like that. I don't.
He's like,
even though it's your father.
My father.
Yeah, but I think
these are regular forms of affection.
A lot of men do have weird like shame, or they're conscious of how men can or humans can abuse those relationships and how it can be inappropriate, and so they kind of like bear the brunt of the shame, I think, for the masculine, and they're like, well, I don't want to be I don't want to be that, and it's like, but you doing that, you're like completely reverting.
Worrying about perception over actually just recognizing that like, this is my child, and if she offers a bid for affection, like I'm going to give it to her.
So I feel like between my father and then also like an uncle that I really, really loved, and then they had a separation. My aunt and him had like a separation. He kind of disappeared, and that was like devastating because I was like the first male that I like really.
Was your first love?
It was my first love, 100%. And then I think I did spend the majority of my like 20s, even early 30s. veering towards men that were very emotionally unavailable. And I said growing up, like, oh, I love my father. I don't really want to be with a man like him. Like, sorry, Dad, I love you, but like, you know, I wanted a more 50-50 split in the relationship, and I wanted someone who was more like touchy and more emotional and could like share with their words a little more. And then I did, and I kept getting into these relationships where I'm like, oh, they're not affectionate, and they don't, you know, say nice things to me. And it's like, well, yeah, I was trying for the do-over, just like we talked about. Like, I was like, oh, I will fix this. I will win over a male's. I will win their love. I will win their validation. I will win their, you know, respect. And it's such like an unhealthy little circle.
And
that you get
isn't
into.
it an interesting thing that obviously we're raised in the same family?
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. Well, I never felt that pull to want to be like, I need to be daddy's girl. And I didn't care about how I was necessarily relating with either parent. I felt pretty independent spirited always. But yeah, moving into my 20s and 30s, not to say I didn't have my own issues and concerns with male relating, but I don't think I ever felt that pull to be like, I need to draw someone in who's emotionally unavailable and then change this dynamic.
I mean, I don't think that it wasn't something I like, you know, set out to do. It's just something I like ended up finding myself in. And only really after the fact, I could look back and be like when I started dating this partner, I was like, well, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to be really verbal about what I need. I'm going to be really expressive to them, that like I need them to meet me there. I need them to express. I need them to be affectionate. Like that's kind of non-negotiables for me. And it's like, you're like changing, because then you're also like, oh, I don't know if I want to have children, but if I do have a little girl, I want her to have a really strong bond with her father, and I want that to be a relationship that she like knows a good example to go out and search for herself and for like the legacy of family that continues, right? It's like that's what it's not only you're setting yourself up for, but it's like it's the future. It's like what experience would a possible daughter of mine have.
Breaking the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the biggest way to break these sort of patterns is putting accountability on the people who are being absent
The
or
people
not
you are
offering
allowing,
what they need, and stop putting the onus on the people who are
Dealing with the repercussions or the responsibilities.
Or shaped a certain way because of someone's poor behavior or absent behavior, right? Like it's not daddy issues. It's
and they also,
dad's an issue.
Dad is the issue. Yeah. They also say too, and I think it's maybe a little more present with like males in their relation to their father, but also when there's unhealthy father-child bonds in those like formative years, those people often do end up being like perpetrators of sexual violence later on, right? Because they don't have that like, it's just, intimacy is such a nuanced thing, and there's many like, it's a big umbrella of what falls under intimacy, and it's like if you don't build those bonds healthy in the early, it's like you just don't know. You don't know where to go or like how to.
You're being set up for a lot of difficulties throughout adulthood by like simple ways, simple shifts in dynamic that we could experience as in our youthfulness, in those intimate relationships with our parents and
what do you think, Meg? The bonds that you formed in your relationships, do you find that you've veered towards, when you look back on it, and I'm like, were those men somewhat similar to your father, or not?
I think similar in the sense of kind, caring, wanting to talk about things, compassionate. I wasn't looking for my dad, but I was looking for characteristics.
Qualities.
Yeah, qualities. And that's what we're all,
Yeah. But yeah, I think there's always something like, I had a good relationship with my dad.
You know what healthy looks like.
You really said like when you have a child, I want that cycle to continue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've sort of looked for qualities that my dad has that
you want to reiterate, keep going and share.
So how do we get rid of the ick from men in their abilities to like tap into that feminine, like emoting intimacy?
I can tell you one way.
Therapy?
No, well, we start wearing vulvas. We can. We start taking away the shame and secrecy of feminine traits and characteristics, things that are, very specific to the female experience, that, these female traits, we all inhabit them.
Yeah.
The association with softness, nurturing,
and there's nothing
compassion,
wrong with them.
Expression.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, beautiful traits that have been sort of shamed and
If we
diminished.
started embracing and then also, like praising or like lauding those qualities, those, like feminine traits that men wouldn't feel so much like
Well,
shame.
the only way to change them is to take them out of the shadows and their hiding place and start sharing them more frequently in as many ways as you can, right? Have the conversations where the vulvas, like talk about periods.
Well, that was what we were even talking about yesterday, how some men would not even go and buy feminine products for their girlfriends.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you, what do you think someone's going to think of you?
Well,
Other
it's
than
like
like,
they think,
what an amazing boyfriend.
Yeah, someone might
Yeah.
think I'm on my period. And it's like, well, why would
Why
you
would
feel
they
shame
think
about
that?
that? And
Yeah.
if you feel that
What's
shame,
wrong with the period?
yeah, then imagine the shame that you're then putting on us
But what
for
I was
having
saying,
that
like,
experience.
the funniest part of it is like, men in our patriarchal society that live in our, like, the providers, the caretakers, they take care of their families, they take care of the women in their life. And it's like,
Until-
so if someone saw you out buying period products, they'd be like, oh wow, he's
Yeah,
doing
great.
a good job.
What-
He's being a provider.
what an awesome man.
The psychology doesn't really add up because that's what it should be. If we're touting this like masculine image of the provider and the caretaker, why would
provide.
Why would people then not think that about you purchasing products that support
And
your family?
also, let's recognize that providing doesn't necessarily just mean physical and financial. Providing also is you're providing emotionally.
support, a safe
Right?
space, open communications, and it's.
You're providing safe and healthy environments for your children to
But we've
flourish.
changed it to like literally just be more of like a monetary
Tangible,
contribution.
physical, like logical thing.
And I think that's a lot of the divide of like dating these days too. Is like women are looking for those other contributions because we're equally responsible for the monetary contributions now.
I feel
so
like we've kind of just like woken up and been like, wait a second.
Hey,
wait
a
a
minute.
second.
Well, we're not reliant on men. We
Yeah.
can have bank accounts now. I
can
can
have
have
a
my own
job.
career, and we have
Yeah.
to. I have to provide just as much financially
this
as
is
a
not the
partner if I
80s
choose to have
anymore.
one.
Yeah.
And so, when you want to be the provider,
This is
great.
not
So
the
what
80s
can you
anymore.
what can you provide me? Because I don't need. We're going to be buying a home together. We're sharing the finances and the expenses. So what I need to be provided is a safe and healthy environment to flourish, to be supported, and to be able to offer that in return, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, what layered? It's
Very
layered.
There's a lot of layers.
a lot of layers.
Anyway, but one small step we can all make today is start proudly wearing pink, talking about periods in public, don some vulvas and strut around town with them. Like, let's normalize the things that are being shushed and hid away.
And as women too, it's like what we're talking about, the legacy and what we think of not just yourself, but also your children. It's like having firmer boundaries or higher standards on the people we're accepting or allowing into our life to build these bonds and build these families or legacies with. It's like, let's continue to up the ante, up the standards of what is required from a partner in order to have a successful relationship where we're going to move forward.
And these conversations are important. So find yourself, a little gang of 3. Come up with an unhinged WhatsApp conversation name and have these conversations
absolutely.
together.
Yeah, and we talk with them, and then I take them to my partner. You take them to who you're
We
dating.
share them with friends.
We take them, and we talk about them in a podcast, and hopefully that reaches people.
We
and
spread the seed.
You start shifting.
Yes, absolutely.
You start shifting mindsets, shifting perspectives, and
Yeah, listen to this podcast with the males in your life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is not the content. It's about women. It's by women, but it's not only for women. It's for everyone.
Absolutely.
Anyone, everyone. Yeah.
All right. Good work, Daddy Issues.
Good
job.
work, Daddy Issues.
You've been listening to The Sister Strain.
If you've got something you'd like to share with us, reach out to us. Contact@sisterstrain.com.
Yours in sistership, The Sister Strain.